What's up, YouTube? I'm back with the Battle Bunch. So I want to tell y'all about my 19-week checkup. Like I've told y'all before, I'm pregnant with twin girls. So we went today, I'm going to tell you something, and got just some cute little onesies. Nothing big. Um, but, so, I like these onesies. What do you think? Anyways, so I had my ultrasound today, and both of the babies are measuring perfect. They're 11 ounces. I go back at the end of the month for another ultrasound. They're going to check their hearts. They say they do this with twins. It's nothing to be scared about. So, but of course, I got scared when she says, we're going to check their hearts. I'm like, well, what's wrong with them? But anyway, so baby A is head down and baby B is transverse. So they're like a T shape. And they was in there just bouncing, and baby B always cuts up. She's a show off. She's gonna be the troublemaker. And but they said everything looks good. Like I told y'all, I was on insulin. And they told me to keep up, that insulin seems to be working. So now my goal is just to cut completely off of soda. And we have two boys that has a rare disease called Hirschsprung's. It's something you really don't know until after they're born. But today in the twins ultrasound, because this is a high risk doctor ultrasound, they checked, and as of right now, the twins don't look like they have it. But praise God. So y'all pray about this, that they don't have it. And but they said they would keep on watching as each ultrasound they'll look. But basically what it is they can't poop. Hayden has no colon at all. And Luke only has, I think, a half of colon. So, you know, we had a very scare with both of them. And so they say it's more common in boys, but you know, there's always a chance, because I guess it's a higher chance because they have brothers that has it. Hayden, I'm gonna give y'all a brief summary of what happened with our boys. And well, anyway, so we went to go have our boys, and you know, just excited like everyone is when they go have their baby. So we get there, and you know, they start the Pitocin because I had to be induced. And I didn't have them till the next day at 4 in the morning. I think, yeah. So, you know, they tell you to rest because you've been having a long time for delivery, but you're too excited to sleep right away. And so later on that afternoon, my husband said, well, I'm going to go home and get some rest. And I was like, okay, well, I'll see you in the morning and we'll be able to leave. So I told the nurse, I said, now you make sure when she came home, I said, make sure you have my discharge papers ready at 6 a.m. My husband's going to be ready to go, and I'm going to be ready to go too. Well, she come in later that night to check on me. And Hayden, he wasn't really eating, and he was having wet diapers, the little paper they give you to measure or count the pees and poops. And she was like, he hasn't pooped, he hadn't made the bowel movement. And I was like, no, he hadn't. So, I didn't think nothing about it. And she was like, well, I'm going to take him with me so you can get you some sleep. I was like, okay. Make the long story short, 10-15 minutes later, she come in, says, we're sending your baby to the NICU to get checked out. He's having some breathing problems. And his abdomen is swelling. And I was like, what in the world? So I called my husband, trying to get him to tell him to come up there, but he was just exhausted, poor thing. Well, so I didn't know what to do because I had tried to call him for about 30 minutes. So I called his mama. Sure did. Called her at work. And all I had to do is say Hayden. And next thing I know it, they was at the hospital. She left work and went to the house and told him to get up here. Well, so he was like, what's going on? So we was telling him. So his stomach was swelling. He had got to where he wasn't eating. He still hadn't pooped. They kept telling me he had a mass of poop. So they did a upper GI, lower GI. And so then they come back. So everything's coming back negative. Well, it was time for me to go home. I told them I was going home, take a shower, get some clothes, I'll be back. And they was like, well, you can't really sleep here. We don't have nowhere for you. I said, I will sleep in the waiting room. And so me and my husband was on the way back to the hospital. And we was like, I wonder if we should just have him transfer to the children's hospital. And so we get there, and I go back there and see him. And I asked them I wanted to speak to the doctor. And so she came out, and, me and my husband told her we think we wanted him transferred because something wasn't adding up. And this lady told us, oh, it don't matter because if he's transferred or not, there's only 5% more chances that they can do something than we can do here. I said, I don't care if it's 1%. We want our baby transferred. And so then we go back. She's like, well, let's go back here and get the papers signed so we can get them transferred. And so I go back there, and this is no lie, y'all. I'm looking at my baby, just talking to him, rubbing his head. And I'm thinking this lady's going to get the papers to get them transferred. And so I happened to look, and she's standing there talking about some. And I said, what? What's wrong with him? Why are you looking at him like that? She said, he's giving up. I said, what you mean he's giving up? She says, I need you to sign life support papers right now. Well, I totally lost it. Well, then it hit me. After I signed the papers, I was like, oh my God, let me go tell my husband. Because I had to wait to sign the papers. And so I go out in the hallway. My husband hears me crying. And I see this lady, the doctor, sitting there just looking at my husband like she's dumbfounded. And my husband's like, what? What is it? So I'm thinking the lady's done told him. She ain't told him shit. And so I finally got my breath where I can tell him. And so it took them 2 hours to get him transferred. But I know it takes some time. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, 2 days later, that morning we got there about 1 a.m. They told us that we couldn't spend a night because they didn't have nowhere for us to sleep, but because it was so late that they would give us, I forget what kind of room it was, but we slept in there. And so I woke up that morning. My baby hadn't opened his eyes in three days. And so I told my husband, I said, I'm going to go check on the baby. And he was like, okay. So I go check. And I was walking up, and where my baby was the last time I seen him, I seen this baby laying there, and his eyes is open. And I said, she was like, hey, Mama. And she said, are you Miss Battle? I said, yes. She says, I'm your nurse. I don't remember her name. And she says, well, we've been awake for about 10 minutes. Y'all, my baby's eyes was open. And all I could say is, oh my God, let me go get my husband. So I flew in the door. He thought something was wrong. And I said, his eyes is open. His eyes is open. So we put Logan in the stroller and got the stuff out of there. And so we went and looked at him. Like I said, make the long story short, a week later, he had his biopsy, come back positive. A week later, he had surgery. He was in there 17 hours. So this other person, doctors and people, whatever they do, that's saying he had a mass of poop. Y'all, it was a pelvic kidney. Yes, a pelvic kidney. And so he had his surgery. He had to have an ostomy bag. So he was in there for a month. Then he come home. At 3 months, they tried to do the pull through. Well, it didn't work. So he had to have a bag again. Well, then at 22 months, he had it reversed. We was in the hospital for 2 weeks because he kept throwing up and he wouldn't hold nothing down, but he was pooping. And so we was there for a while. But my baby's still living. And, oh, by the way, this doctor at the other hospital, my husband asked her, says, what do you think the chances of him making it? She told me some, I don't know. Honey, you don't know Jesus. But anyway, so Hayden, he is, after his surgery, he had, for about 4 or 5 months, maybe 6, he had problems where he would have once a month where he couldn't eat and he would throw up. So we was in and out of the hospital because they say he'd get dehydrated. Well, now this little boy is chunky as ever. So he's doing great. Okay, then we had Hudson. He don't have Hirschsprung's. Then I got pregnant with Luke. So, we didn't think nothing about it because Hudson didn't have it. But we knew what to look for. Do y'all like my nails? So Luke, we went to have him. And so within 4 hours, maybe or so, I said he ain't pooped. Hours passed. He ain't pooped. Got nighttime. He ain't pooped. They was like, oh, well, he's got 24 hours to poop. He was a little bit early, so, it might take him some time, but just give him some time. honey, the next morning I woke up, he ain't pooped. He's not pooped. Miss Battle, just give it time. Okay. Anyway, make long story short, 24 hours, he starts crying. I was like, oh, maybe he's hungry. Maybe he's getting ready to have a bowel movement. He didn't want the bottle. I checked his diaper. He hadn't pooped. So what I do, I push the button. And I told him, I said, look, he ain't pooped. His brother has Hirschsprung. I know the routine. So they go take him a x-ray. Come back, oh, he's got a massive air in his belly. We're getting him transferred. So 4th of July, we was transferred to Brenner's. The next day we knew he had to have a test done, so we went up there before the test to see him, and we spent all day at the hospital with Hayden and Luke. From like 10 a.m. to like 10 at night. We might not sit by his bedside because, we had the other children, but we was there. And we would take turns going back there. Or sometimes we all go back there until the other ones get rowdy. But the nurses loved talking to Hayden and Logan and Hudson. But anyway, so, sorry y'all, I'm sleepy. And, so anyway, we go, and they're like, okay, Mama and Dad, we're going to take him back for his test, and we had to sign the paperwork saying it was okay. Well, then we was in the waiting room, and I seen this lady, and I remember from when Hayden was there. She's like the head poncho of the doctors. And I seen the doctor we had just talked to. And I seen him flying down the hallway. And something in my heart, in my mind, just knew it was for Luke. And next thing I know it, I see her go like this. Like telling us to come on. So we jump up and we follow behind him. We get back there and everybody in the world, doctors, nurses, trying to help our baby. He got a hole in his intestine. So he had to be prepared for emergency surgery. And I don't remember them telling me much because once they said a hole in his intestine, I thought my baby was going to be gone. To know the God honest truth. And so my I signed one paper. I don't know what it was for. I think it was to give, if it was okay to give blood. And so my husband signed the rest saying it was okay to do the surgery and the anesthesia and all that. Well, he was in surgery for 19 hours. I think. No. 17 or 18. And he had to get a bag. And so, anyway, 5 days his stomach busted open. And literally, when I say busted open, at his belly button was only like a thin piece, like thin as my nail, holding together. Well, we had to pack it and stuff. We got to where we could go home. He stayed a month and a half. At 3 months, he had his reversal. And both of them are doing great. So like I told y'all pray these twins don't have it. And Make sure y'all like, subscribe, and share. And we'll be back. Bye.